Hello, welcome back to the Agile Foundations course from Digital Agility Institute. So we'll continue with our discussion on Agile Principles. In the first session, we completed the first six principles. Now we will look on the next six that are involved. So the seventh principle is about looking at working software as the primary measure of progress. So that is where it's not about the amount of effort that is being put. It's not about how much of documentation you have done. The measure of progress is about working software, because that is what delivers value to the customer in a software development context. So from that point of view, working software in software development context is the primary measure of progress. In any other domain, the value delivered to the customer is the primary measure of progress. The eighth principle, we talk about agile processes promote sustainable development. The sponsors, developers, and users should be able to maintain a constant pace indefinitely. That means when you think about an agile process or agile team, consistency of delivery is the key. And the pace at which we deliver or we consume our efforts should be such that you are able to sustain that pace in a long term. We don't want to have too much of peaks, whether it is peaking up or peaking to the low, which can create a sense of disbelief, or if I have to say, there is no predictability of what to expect from the team in terms of the value being delivered. So the processes or the framework themselves promote sustainable development, but as a team we should be very careful in not trying to be over ambitious. Are you committing to the effort that you can consistently deliver over a long period of time, rather than trying to be flashy, going too much at a peak, and then you're not able to meet it, the team loses its morale, and then you come down you know too far down the normal, right? So how balanced or how standardized can your pace of delivery be? The delivery predictability is what we call, and we talk about this even in the metrics piece also. So that is about principle number 8. The pace of your delivery of value should be as consistent as possible, which you can sustain in the long term, right? So that is what matters most. Next is about continuous attention to technical excellence, and good design enhances agility. So what it means is, if you have good technical practices, you know, uh, within the team, that means if the team is able to guide, mentor, support, upskill or reskill the team members so that everyone tries to be at the same level of competence, right, and keep evolving their level of competence consistently, and having a good design means it will enhance agility. How? If everybody is at the same level of competence and are continuously evolving together, it means that nobody will wait for a certain activity to be picked up by somebody else. Everybody in the team is equipped enough that any challenging task is coming up to be picked from the backlog, they would not have any hesitation to go and take that card and start working on it. If that does not happen, then what will happen is we will try to slow down our work, knowing that if I complete this, I may have to pick up some card which I'm not comfortable with. I'm not enough capable of managing or delivering that card or fulfilling its needs. So, from that point of view, it is very important that the technical excellence is always looked at. Everybody in the team looks after each other to bring or level them up, right? Continuously to achieve excellence. That is one element. So if everybody is at par, then anybody can go and pull the work. So that increases the agility of the team. Good design, if your design is good, you can enhance the design and scale it up to improve the future requirements that are coming up from business. If the design is not robust, then you may have to go back and look at redesigning, because it is not scalable in nature. So that also will hinder agility if your design is not good enough. So that's another important element of the principles. Now, simplicity, the art of maximizing the amount of work not done, is essential. That means you don't want to get the work to be too complex. That is why we talk about user stories and tasks within that user stories. How simplistic your user story can be, it will help you to not have too much of complex work involved in it, right? So make the user stories as simple as possible, and what it will help us is to look at building our understanding of what is the amount of work that is not done, right? That means you are very clear, either I have done this or I have not done this, and that clarity is very much required, so that you are able to in the end make out what is that you have fulfilled in the requirements that were laid out for us as a team. Now, principle number 11, the best architectures, requirements, and designs emerge from self organizing teams. Most of the times, we believe that the people at the top should be creating those architectures. The enterprise architects or the solution architects should be talking about the designs, right? But the best people who, how it can come is more bottom up. So you can have the guidance by the people and let them self organize to see who is best placed to make it happen. Whatever requirements are coming through, whatever design decisions need to be made, you need to create teams that are self organizing, that are empowered, that are autonomous, so that they can create what is required to be fulfilling those requirements which are coming through. Now, last but not the least, at regular intervals, the team reflects on how to become more effective, then tunes and adjusts its behavior accordingly. So, one of the events we talk about is always what is known as the retrospective. That is one of the place where you have the team collecting together and trying to figure out what is that we did well in the last sprint or last iteration. And in the case of program increment, we call that event as inspect and adapt. So that in that event, each and every member of the team starts reflecting on what went well, what could be improved, what is that we need to stop doing, so that we are better in the next iteration and we are able to be better collaborating within the team and be better engaged as a team member, so that we can deliver greater value to the customer. So at every regular interval, we need to look at becoming more effective. But now that is about continuous reflection. But we are moving further ahead from that. We are now talking about relentless reflection, which means you don't need to wait for a retrospective, which will happen in 2 weeks or 4 weeks or probably 3 months' time. Can you reflect every time when you are doing a story? If you are showcasing a story to the customer, try to reflect, try to retrospect to say, okay, what is that probably I could have changed or I could do better, right? In the next story that I'm managing to deliver, correct? That's about relentless reflection. It is about fastening your feedback loop to be able to be better consistently, continuously reflecting on your state of getting things done, right? Your skill sets, your behaviors within the team, the patterns that you showcase, right, when you are doing the work and when you are interacting with your team members. So that is the last principles. So those are the 12 principles overall from an agile manifesto perspective. So in this particular session, right, so we talked about agile values and principles, and the summary, if we have to summarize, what does these principles and values, if we integrate and if we can showcase, give us, is an understanding that change can come from any direction, right? And we are never sure about the future. What will happen in future, we can never be so sure. It can always change, right? And the features and designs, the functions and designs always evolve. So you should be creating those in a way that they can be scaled up, right? And what is the mindset we need to build, right? Plan for what is clear. Don't think about everything. Don't think about forecasting something what can happen in after 6 months. You never know, right? Plan for what you can see today, whatever is clear to you today. Keep making small increments. It's not about working for 6 months or 9 months to deliver one big feature. How can you break that feature down into small increments which can start delivering value to the customer and also to the organization that you are trying to deliver against, right? Make decisions based on what we are learning. Consistently keep reflecting on your decision making capability and how the decisions you made, what logic did you use, what behavioral pattern influenced, what biases influenced those decisions, and learn from those. How did it go? What did it do better? What did it impact? And whether you need to continue that pattern or you need to change that pattern. So be reflective consistently, relentlessly, so that you are able to be the better version of yourself as an individual, as a team, and as an organization. So that is the overall agile values and principles and our reflection of what they are and why it is required for us to integrate them into our personality. And that's why, if you remember at the beginning, our definition of agile is a way of life. Are you thinking agile? Are you being agile? That's what we would leave you with from this particular session. Now, moving to the activity part. What is the assignment for this, right? So, we talked about 4 values and 12 principles. What we want you to do as part of this exercise is try and map these values to the principles. Which value, which principle, if we integrate, will help us live the corresponding value, right? So, for example, if we talk about the first value we discussed, which is our highest priority is to satisfy customer through continuous delivery and valuable software. Now, if you look at the values itself, right? Which value does it highlight? Which value does it align? It aligns to your working software is the measure of progress, working software over comprehensive documentation. So the first principle, if we integrate and if we consistently, exhibit our behavior to prioritize and satisfy customer, it means we are living the value of looking at or prioritizing working software delivery over preparing comprehensive documentation. So in the similar way, we would like you to map all the 12 values to the 4 principles, so that you understand by exhibiting these principles or integrating these principles into our daily life, we are able to live by these values. And this is the way it is about living those values. Whenever you talk about values, you should have the behaviors which will showcase or which will help us exhibit living those values. So now map these principles to the 4 values and submit your assignment back to us on the learning portal. Hope you enjoyed this particular learning session with us. And in the next session, we will be talking about frameworks. So we will cover Scrum and Kanban foundations in our part 3. Until then, have a great reflection. We'll see you back in the next session. Thank you.